Hello, this is Mrs. Bentley, and I'm here to work through the Unit 1A test review with you. So the first topic we covered in this unit was solving equations. So 1 through 4 is on solving equations for the given variable. So number 1, notice we have our grouping symbols, so we will need to distribute the 4. So 4 times x simplifies to 4x. 4 times 2 simplifies to plus 8, and we still have equals 52. Now we have our variable on the left, so we need to move our constants over to the right, so we're going to subtract 8 on both sides. 8 minus 8 equals 0, so that simplifies to just 4x equals, and 52 minus 8 simplifies to 44. Our last step, this is 4 times x, so we're going to use the inverse operation and divide both sides by positive 4. 4 divided by 4 is 1x, so we can simplify that to just x equals, and 44 divided by 4 is positive 11. So our final answer for number 1 is x equals 11. Okay, if you notice in number 2, we do have a fraction, and our denominator is 3. So I'm going to start by multiplying both sides of the equation by positive 3. On the left side, our 3's are going to cross cancel, but be careful, we still have the negative, so I'm going to write this as negative 2x equals, well, 3 times 6 is 18. Carry my 1, and 3 times 1 is 3 plus 1, so this equals 48. Now we're going to divide both sides by negative 2. And we have our variable x by itself, and positive 48 divided by negative 2 equals negative 24. So for number 2, our final answer is x equals negative 24. Okay, for number 3, look at your equation and identify where your variable is located. We only have one variable, and if you read this expression, you would read it as a divided by 6 minus 3. So the first step we need to undo is add 3 on both sides. If we simplify on the left, negative 2 plus 3 is positive 1, and this equals a divided by 6. To undo division, we're going to multiply both sides of the equation by positive 6. 6 times 1 is 6. On the right side, our 6's cross reduce or cross cancel, and we have our variable a by itself. So our final answer for number 3 is a equals 6. Okay, for number 4, this one's a little bit different. Again, say the expression out loud or in your head, and whatever you say last is what you will undo first. So notice the variable is on the right side, so I would read this as 3 minus a divided by negative 2. So the first thing I must do is undo the division, so I'm going to multiply both sides of the equation by negative 2. So on the left side, negative 2 times positive 7 simplifies to negative 14 equals, my negative 2's are going to cross cancel, and we're left with 3 minus a. Again, we have our variable on the right, so we're going to subtract the 3 to get our constants on the left. And now simplify, negative 14 minus 3 simplifies to negative 17 equals 3 minus 3 is 0. We still have a negative a. And there's an understood 1 here. So this is like negative 1 times a. So we still need to do one more step, divide both sides of the equation by negative 1. That's going to cancel out, and negative 17 divided by negative 1 becomes positive 17 equals a. So number 4, our final answer is a equals 17. Okay, 5 and 6, we have a couple more equations. So go ahead and separate your two sides. On the left side, look to see are there any like terms you can combine. And on the right side, are there any like terms you can combine? We can't combine any like terms, but I do notice we have variables on both sides of the equation. So I'm going to subtract 2x on both sides to combine my variable terms. And when I simplify, 2x minus 2x is 0, so I'm only left with the negative 17 on the left, and on the right, 2x minus 2x is also 0, so we have positive 7 on the right. So does negative 17 equal positive 7? No, that is not true. So this is no solution. You can abbreviate that NS. I'm okay with that. Okay, for number 6, wow, we've got lots of variable terms. So let's just start by simplifying one side of the equation at a time. So on the left side, I see a 6a, a negative 3a, and a positive 2a. So we're going to combine our like terms, so be careful with the math. 6 minus 3 is 3, and 3 plus 2 is 5a. Bring down the plus 8 equals a. Now, I typically would say move the smaller variable term, but notice the a is by itself, where the 5a has a constant of positive 8. So it's actually going to be better to subtract 5a on each side. And 5a minus 5a is 0. We then are left with our positive 8 equals, there's an understood 1, so 1 minus 5 is negative 4a. Now we're going to divide both sides of the equation by negative 4. Our negative 4 divided by negative 4 equals 1a, and 8 divided by negative 4 is negative 2 equals a. Again, I prefer to write my variable in front, so I'm just going to reverse that as a equals negative 2. Okay, our next two problems, 7 and 8, we are looking at literal equations. We still use those same equation steps for solving. So notice in number 7, they're asking us to solve the equation for y. So identify where that variable is located. There's only one y in the equation. You want to start by moving the term that does not contain the y first. So we're going to subtract 4x on both sides. And 4x minus 4x is 0. That leaves us with 3 times y equals. I want you guys to start trying to write this in standard form. So we always put our variable term first. The negative comes with the negative 4x. And the 8 is positive, so you finish it off with the constant plus 8. Now, we still have 3 times y, so we now need to divide each term by 3, and then just see where we can simplify. So 3 divided by 3 is 1y, so we can simplify to y. Negative 4 is not divisible by 3. We would get a repeating decimal, so just leave this as an improper fraction, negative 4/3 x. And 8 is not divisible by 3, so leave this as plus 8/3. And that is your final answer. So you would write the equation as y equals negative 4/3 x minus 8/3. Okay, number 8, we have v equals pi times r times L, and they're wanting us to solve for r. So the r is being multiplied by the pi and then times the L. So to undo multiplying, we just divide out the variables we need to move to the opposite side. So we'll divide by the pi L on both sides of the equation. We can cancel out pi because pi divided by pi is 1. L divided by L is 1. So we now have r by itself. So r equals v divided by pi times L. So our final equation is r equals v divided by pi L. Okay, in number 9 and 10, we are now solving the inequality for the given variable, and we have to graph the solutions on the number line. It asks us to show all work. So again, we use our same 5 steps we use with equations. There's just that one special rule. If we have to multiply or divide by a negative, we need to remember to flip the inequality sign. and sometimes we have to rewrite the order of the solution with the variable in front, and that would also result in having to flip the inequality sign. So just be very careful with that. So if you look at number 9, you have some choices. You can subtract the 2y or you could subtract the 6y. Either way, we're going to have to do some rearranging somewhere in the inequality. I'm going to go with subtracting 2y on both sides. So 2y minus 2y is 0. We're left with 11 is greater than. 6y minus 2y simplifies to 4y, and we still have plus 11. Okay, I have my variable on the right, so I'm going to move my constant over to the left, so we're going to subtract 11 on both sides. We have to be careful about saying cancels out. Really, it's 11 minus 11 is 0, but 0 plus 4y simplifies to just 4y. Over on the left, 11 minus 11, we will write the 0 since there is no other term. Now we're going to divide both sides by 4. So 4 divided by 4, that's just y, and 0 divided by 4 is 0, so we are left with 0 is greater than y. Now, this is where I recommend rewriting your solution where the variable is on the left side in front. So we want to read this as y is less than 0. So you will need to flip the sign when you rearrange the order. Okay, so on that line, I'm going to write my solution. Y is less than 0. And now we're going to graph. So I'm just going to put 0 in the middle. Negative 1 to the left, positive 1 to the right. Its y is less than 0, so 0 is not included as a solution. And all the numbers that are less than 0 are to the left side of the number line. So we're going to shade to the left. Okay, number 10, I'm going to go ahead and separate my inequality. I see there's only one variable term. I need to move my constant, the minus 14, so we're going to start by adding 14 on both sides. 7 plus 14 simplifies to 21 is less than negative 3v. Now pay attention, notice your coefficient of the variable is negative. So when we continue solving, we're going to divide by a negative. So 21 divided by negative 3 is negative 7. We are going to flip the inequality symbol. Negative 3 divided by negative 3 is just 1v, so we can simplify this to v. So we flip the inequality sign because we divided by a negative, and now I'm going to have to flip it again to rewrite the order. So we need to read this as v is less than negative 7. So I'll place negative 7 in the middle. One number less than negative 7 is negative 8. One number greater than negative 7 is negative 6. Our variable is less than negative 7, so it does not include negative 7, and less than is to the left. Okay, let's take a look at number 11. It says write an equation and solve, show your work. For part A, they ask us to find the value of the variable A, and for part B, find the value of the marked angles. So again, we've talked about how when two lines intersect, the two angles that are across from one another are called vertical angles. So we know that vertical angles are always congruent. So we are able to form an equation by setting the expression 4a minus 14 equal to the expression 2a plus 12. Okay, take a minute to look at the equation. Notice we have variables on both sides. We have a 4a and a 2a, so I'm going to choose to move my smaller one. So I'm going to subtract 2a from both sides of the equation. 4a minus 2a simplifies to 2a. We still have our minus 14 equals 12. Okay, we're ready to get the variable term by itself, so we're going to add the constant, the 14, to both sides of the equation, and again, just continue simplifying. So we're now left with 2a equals 12 plus 14 simplifies to 26. And now we're dividing both sides of the equation by 2. So A equals 13. So we found part A equals 13. And now to find the value of the angle, you can pick either expression. Remember, these two angles are congruent. I'm going to use the 2a plus 12 since it's positive. It looks a little bit easier to work with. So I'm going to substitute 13 in for a. So 2 times 13 and then add 12. So 2 times 13 is 26, and 26 plus 12 equals 38 degrees. If you use the other expression, you should still get the same answer. You would multiply 4 times 13 and then subtract 14, and again that still simplifies to 38 degrees. Okay, number 12, they're just giving us an algebra equation verbally with words, and we have to translate it into an equation algebraically. So it says 6 less than, okay, so remember this is one of our turnaround words. We're going to subtract 6 from 1/4 of a number. So we're going to say 1/4 times a number minus 6. Here's the key word is, so that's where we put our equals. So equals -3. And now we're just going to follow our steps for solving. So I notice that we have 1/4 times n minus 6, so the first thing we need to do is add 6 on both sides. Our opposite 6's equals 0. Now you could simplify this. Whenever you look at a 1/4 times n, that can also just be rewritten as n divided by 4. The 1 times the n simplifies, equals -3 plus 6 is +3. And now look at this next step. This is just like division, n divided by 4. So the inverse is to multiply both sides of the equation by +4. Your 4's will cross cancel, leaving us with n equals 12. So we have found that the number equals 12. Oops, sorry about that. I was trying to move my little recording box. Here we go. So on the top line, they wanted us to write the equation first. So you would just write the 1/4 n minus 6 equals -3. So they were wanting the equation, and then they asked us to find the number. So those are your two answers for number 12. Okay, number 13, they ask us to find 3 consecutive even integers such that the sum of twice the first and the third is 2 less than 3 times the third integer. Write an equation and find the integers. Okay, so there's a little typo in number 13, so we need to correct this. It says find 3 consecutive even integers such that we need to insert twice the sum of the first and the third is 2 less than 3 times the third integer. Write an equation and find the integers. So again, this is one of those very wordy problems. We're going to have to break it down step by step. I noticed we need to find 3 numbers, so I'm going to go ahead and set that up. My first number, my second number, and my third number. I also know they're even, so we know the first one is going to be represented with x. Even numbers increase by 2, so x plus 2, and then x plus 4. So what we need to do is we need to get the sum of the first and the third, and we're going to have to multiply that sum by 2 because it says twice the sum. So we're going to say 2 times sum means we're going to add the first number and the third number. So x plus 4. Here's your keyword is, so that's where you're going to put your equals, is 2 less than, so remember that's a turnaround word, we're going to subtract it at the end. So we're going to say 3 times the third integer first, so 3 times x plus 4, and then we're going to subtract the 2 at the end. So this is our equation. So we've got a lot of things to start simplifying. So let's just start inside the parentheses. I see we have like terms. So x plus x, this simplifies to 2 times 2x plus 4. And on the right, I'll go ahead and distribute my 3. So 3 times x is 3x. 3 times 4 is plus 12. And we still have the minus 2. Okay, on the left, we still have a distribution step. So 2 times 2x simplifies to 4x. 2 times 4 simplifies to 8 equals, we can combine our constants on the right. So that simplifies to 3x. 12 minus 2 is 10. Okay, so now this looks very similar to the equations we've been solving, so we need to get our variables on one side, so we're going to subtract 3x from each side. And 4x minus 3x simplifies to x, and we'll squeeze it over here. And we still have our plus 8 equals 10. And now to finish solving, we're going to subtract 8 on each side. So 10 minus 8 is x equals 2. So our first number is 2. The next integer, remember you substitute it into the expression 2 plus 2. So that simplifies to 4. And then your third number, you add 2 plus 4. So that integer is 6. And on line A, they were wanting us to write the equation. So I'm going to try to squeeze it on here. That was 2 times x plus 4 equals 3 times x plus 4 minus 2. Okay, number 14, it says the width of a rectangle is 6 centimeters more than 2 times its length. The perimeter of the rectangle is 78 centimeters. Find the dimensions of the rectangle. So remember, you need to ask yourself, am I comparing my width to my length, or am I comparing my length to the width? And I've told you that that last word at the end of the first sentence, that's kind of a clue to what you're comparing to. So we are comparing the width to the length. So the first thing we need to do is define a variable that we can use to represent our length. I try to stay away from L just because it's mistaken sometimes as a 1. So I'm going to use x. And now we can use the variable x to write an expression to represent the width. So the width of a rectangle is 6 centimeters more than 2 times its length. So we need to do 2 times the length, so 2 times x, and then our plus 6 more. Okay, I'm just going to draw and label a rectangle so I can kind of see my 4 sides. So our length is x, and our width is 2x plus 6. In the problem, they told us the perimeter equals 78. So now we're just going to combine like terms. So x plus 2x plus x plus 2x. That's going to add up to equal 6x. And now add your constants. We have a positive 6 plus 6, so plus 12. And we know the 4 sides add up to equal our perimeter of 78. So now we're going to solve. So start by subtracting the constant 12 on both sides. We end up with 6x equals 66. Divide both sides by 6. So x equals 11. So if you look back at the representation, x is our length. So we know our length equals 11. And to find the width, we're going to use the expression and substitute 11 in for x. So 2 times 11 plus 6. So this simplifies to 22 plus 6. Combine like terms. So the width equals 28. And now we have the 2 dimensions of the rectangle. Okay, number 15. The volleyball team sold donuts for a fundraiser. Each box contains 12 donuts. Each box costs $3. How much does the volleyball team have to charge for each donut to make a profit of $6 per box? So the question is asking us to find the charge for each donut. Now, when you are trying to raise money for a fundraiser, you're going to have to go out and purchase the items to sell first. And notice it tells us that each box cost $3. So we've got to take into consideration our cost, and we need to add what we want to make as our profit. So we've got to pay ourselves back the $3 we spent on the box of donuts. And we want to make a profit of $6 per box, so we would have to add the $6 to the cost. So we need to sell each box of donuts for $9. Now, it's not asking for the charge per box, it's asking for the charge per donut. So we need to take the $9. Each box has 12 donuts, so we need to divide the $9 by the 12 donuts to find the cost. I know 9/12 will reduce to 3/4, and 3/4, if you think about that as a decimal, that's going to reduce to 75 cents. So the cost of donuts, or the cost per donut, we need to charge to make our profit is 75 cents each. Okay, number 16, this is a literal equation. It says linear equations can be described by the formula y equals mx plus b. So that's our slope-intercept form. M is the slope of the line. B is the y-intercept of the line. Determine the equation that finds x. So they're wanting us to take the given equation y equals mx plus b and solve for x. So we're going to look to see where our x is located. I'm just going to box it. We have m times x plus b. So the first thing we need to move is the b, so we're going to subtract b on both sides. Our y and b are not like terms, so we'll just have to write this out like as an expression. So y minus b equals m times x. And now to undo the multiplying, we're going to divide both sides of the equation by m. So now we have the equation for x. X equals y minus b divided by m. Okay, 17 through 21 is just translating each phrase into an algebraic expression. Remember, an expression is just going to be a mathematical statement, no equal sign. So this is review from your previous math course. So just I'm going to point out some key things. When it's twice the sum, when you're multiplying times a sum or times a difference, you must use parentheses. So you're going to say 2, and then inside the parentheses, the sum of a number and 7. So where you see the word number, that's where we're going to use a variable. I'm just going to use n, so n plus 7. So this is twice the sum of a number and 7. Number 18 says the quotient of a number and 9. The key word quotient means we are going to divide. So you could write this out as n divided by 9, or we could write it as a fraction n over 9. Number 19, it says 5 more than twice a number. The words more than is a turnaround word, so we're going to turn around and put the 5 at the end. So we're going to do twice a number first, so 2 times n, and then add 5. Now with addition, if you reverse the order, it does not really affect the outcome, but with subtraction, it would be wrong. So number 20, you'll see it says 15 less than. Again, less than is a turnaround word, so we actually turn around the statement. It's like we're writing it backwards. It says 15 less than a number cubed. So we're going to take the number, I'm going to use n. Cubed means raised to the third power, and then we're going to subtract 15. Okay, 21 says the product, so keyword here, product means to multiply. The product of 5 and a number squared. So we're going to say 5 times the number squared. We can always simplify when we're multiplying a number and a variable. We can just simplify it as a coefficient. So you could also write this as just 5n squared. Okay, and our last problem, number 22, says explain the error in the student's work, then work the problem out correctly to the right of the problem and give the correct solution. So I'm just going to write the problem out next to it. The equation is x plus 15 minus 3x equals negative 11. And the first step is to always look to see if we have any grouping symbols, and we have no grouping symbols, so we can skip step 1. Step 2 is to look at the two sides to see if we can combine like terms, and on the left we can combine the x minus the 3x. And remember, there's an understood 1, so 1 minus 3 simplifies to negative 2x plus 15 equals negative 11. Okay, so far I would say my work matches the student's work. Okay, in the next step, I'm going to move my constant to the opposite side. So I'm going to subtract 15 on both sides. My plus and minus 15 equals 0, so we're left with negative 2x equals negative 11 and negative 15. Remember, if your signs are the same, you're going to add and keep the sign. So that simplifies to negative 26. And if we check our step with the student's work, you will notice that this is where the student made a mistake. So what they've done is, for some reason, when they subtracted 15, they actually found the difference between 15 and 11 to get the 4. Okay, so we're going to keep going so we can get the correct answer. We're now going to divide both sides by negative 2. And negative 26 divided by negative 2 is positive 13. So we find that x equals 13. Thank you guys for your attention, and good luck on your test tomorrow.